Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this new Grooming Business Awards show. Tonight, we will receive a wonderful and incredible young woman who, in a very short period of time, has succeeded in breaking out in the grooming industry. With me today, I welcome Nathalie Zickmann, who is from Scotland and who will present her incredible past so far and what she intends to do next. Good evening, Stephanie, and thank you for being with us tonight.
No, thank you very much for having me, Natalie. It's a pleasure.
Well, first of all, I cannot tell you how impressed I am looking at your resume, looking at what you've done over the last, 2 to 3 years only. So you have come such a long way in a very, very short time, and that is really impressive. So that our viewers can get an idea, what were you doing before you decided to become a groomer?
Well, it's an interesting story. So I've always been involved in business. So I left school when I was 15, and I started doing theatrical work. So I was performing in theatre. And then from there, when I was 18, I started an entertainment firm. And that's when I started DJing. So I was a disc jockey. So yeah, it's quite a different area to be working in, but that was what I did.
So we kind of a showgirl, were you?
Yeah, but in a nice way. yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you decided to become a groomer. So for how long have you been a groomer, and how did you started it? How did you decide to be a groomer?
So I've been professionally grooming for 2 years, so very, very new. But I've always had dogs. I've always brushed my dog's coats. The reason why I decided to have a change of career was because my mental health wasn't really good. So I was quite depressed and quite anxious. So obviously being in a entertainment industry, it was quite demanding. And I just got tired of pretending that I was okay. So there was a lot of soul searching in it, and I came to the realization that the only time I was really happy was when I was brushing my dog's coats at home. And so the idea of dog grooming officially came about, and that's why I decided to start my career in dog grooming. So
That's great. So as you said, you were quite a businesswoman before you started to be a groomer. And since you've been a groomer, you're still a very, very good businesswoman, because there's so many, I don't know where to start. I mean, finalists for Best Pet Grooming Business and Best New Start Business at the Scotland's Business Awards. Then you've been finalist for Best New Start and Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And you've been presented with the highly commended award for Young Entrepreneur as well at the Chamber of Commerce of Ayrshire. And you did not stop there, because in 2020, you were nominated as well for Best Pet Business Influencer, Best Dog Grooming Business, Best Pet Business, etc., etc. Can go on and on and on like that. Did you take any specific business classes?
no.
No.
No. No, you know, my sister always laughs at this because in school I used to steal her perfume. and and I would charge people at school 20 pence for a spray of her perfume. So I mean, so there's always a joke in my family that I was always an entrepreneur. I've always been business inclined. I don't know if that's maybe a rebellionism thing. But it's certainly something that's been ingrained into me for as long as I can remember. But as far as business classes go, never had a business class.
So you're a natural businesswoman then. It's all natural for you.
I just call it creative. If you're quite a creative person, I think it's very easy to run a business. So
that's true. And going back to the grooming side of what you're doing, you focused on holistic grooming. So for those who are not familiar to the holistic grooming, can you tell us exactly what holistic grooming is?
It's complex. So, I mean, there's kind of my mentors have always said, try and find a line that you can use to describe what holistic grooming is. And it's so hard because it's so complex. So the idea behind holistic grooming came from the realization that we're not really understanding the animals that we're working on. So as groomers, we're taught, and the emphasis is always on the aesthetically pleasing cut, how to perform breed standard trims. There's not so much emphasis on how that dog thinks, how the dog acts, and like you're obviously aware of what the dog's actually made of, the skin and the coat. And there's so much things we have to consider when we're grooming our dogs that holistic grooming is just tapping into that. And trying to think of the entire situation around us, not just how to achieve the breed standard trim.
I totally agree with that. So, and talking about that, during the lockdown, well, it was my lockdown. I don't know if it was yours as well. You launched the Holistic Grooming Academy, yep, which I find absolutely fantastic, by the way. So anybody who is interested, I suggest you go and check that. Well, can you tell us a bit more about it, about this academy?
So it's not launched yet. So I'm still advertising at the moment for launch in January 2021. But the idea behind the Holistic Academy is to provide students with mini courses on the different aspects of grooming, not just styling, but obviously behavior, canine behavior, anatomy and physiology, your dermatologist. I'm hoping that you might have some input in that as well.
It's happy to.
Yeah, we'll see. Yay. So yeah, the Holistic Academy is more like a support network for groomers who are wanting to enhance their service and to build in their confidence and competence in the industry that they love. So it's a way to evolve our industry, basically. It's just helping people to achieve more than what they are already achieving.
I hear you. It's fantastic. And how do you think this is perceived by groomers at the moment? Because it's very new. It's something really, really new. And that I can tell that with my courses as well, doing the dermatology stuff, as you know, it really go against what the majority of groomers were thinking grooming was. So how is your holistic grooming perceived by groomers at the moment?
It's mixed signals. So I've been in, gosh, it's just there's clearly a divide amongst groomers right now, just because the misinterpretation of what holistic grooming is. So there are people that think that it's a buzzword, it's just a trend, and it's a way to exploit money. But when we're actually looking at it from a holistic perspective, it's simply just a way for us to enhance what we already know. So I think that people are starting to understand that a little bit better. I think initially there were many groomers out there who were thinking of, these are people that are trying to say that the way we've been doing it all these years is wrong, rather than looking at it as it's just a way to enhance what you already know. Science evolves every single day, so you cannot expect to be doing the same things you were 30 years ago,
Exactly.
today. So it's just evolution.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm totally for it. I mean, I'm totally into holistic grooming, just that I specialize in one bit because I do not I'm a teacher, not a groomer. So I decided to specialize on just one part of it, but I'm totally with you on that. And even though talking about the business side of it, I think that the more groomers will go into the holistic, the more they will be able to develop sound businesses and they will have better customer relationship as well, not only with the four-legged ones, but with the two-legged ones. What do you think?
Oh no, 100%. I think as well, there was talk about, I think it was on Whippet Media lately, that it was one of the grooming forums maybe, that people consider grooming to be a low grade trade. And I think that the curriculum's doing us a real injustice there, because we're only tapping into a fraction of what grooming actually is. Whereas when we're implementing the holistic approach, we aren't just groomers. We have to be behaviourists. We need to understand what our dogs are trying to communicate. We have to understand the impact that, like you say, water has effects on the skin. We need to know exactly what we're doing so that we can understand better the implications of what we're doing. So, I mean, I think that it's definitely an incentive for all groomers to jump onto, because it's making us look like the professional industry that we should be. And we're not just playing about with fluffy animals. We're not just, styling hair and braiding hair and it's all la-di-da. There's a scientific foundation there, and there's a real professional opportunity for us to really, evolve and be appreciated, in the industry.
I hear you. I hear you. You're so true. I totally agree with that. That's when I scream in this desert every day. Um,
It's like, honestly, if if people were more confident in what they're doing, I'm not saying that they aren't. I think there's amazing groomers out there that are so knowledgeable, but for the trainees that are just starting, the emphasis is so much on styling, that they're not really confident in identifying early signs of illness and injuries and things like that we should really be observing as groomers. We're seeing dogs more frequently than the vets are. So we are in the right position to be helping our guardians pick up on the early signs of disease. So really, I've wrote something in the book I'm writing at the moment. So this is a wee sneak preview of what the book is, but there's a chapter where I'm talking about it. If a vet requires a master's degree or a PhD, then we should be aspiring at degree level, because I would say that we're one step behind the vets in terms of our capabilities. It's just we shouldn't be focused on just being stylists.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, talking about something very different, you also developed an education program for children, and I love this idea to raise awareness of safe dog and human interaction and how to prevent dog attacks, because I mean, I think a lot of people will recognize it, the situation, like the child coming and ignoring the signs, and the parents and sometimes the pet owner ignoring the signs, and then there is a bite or a high risk. So can you tell us a bit more about this program?
Yeah, so it's called Bark and Play. I've copyrighted it now, so that's it, patented. So I'll actually be honest with you and say it was influenced by bad parenting in my part. So a few years ago, my son, he's now 5, he was I think 2 at the time. He was attacked by my miniature dachshund. But however, Jack never was ever taught safe interaction with animals. I never really thought about it. And as it turned out, he'd been prodding at Jessica for ages before she finally snapped. And it dawned on me, it was, there's so many people out there that don't educate their children. And so that's why I started the programme, and it was solely to try and teach my own children how to interact with our family dogs, because I've got 4. And then it just escalated from there, and the schools around my area decided that it would be a fantastic programme to implement into the primary schools of the area. So just before lockdown, that was about to materialise, and then this happened, so we'll have to resume after it, normality and everything, but it's a fantastic program.
Is it something you want to keep local, or do you intend to extend this program to, well, I don't know, national or abroad?
I think, there's things out there already in terms of safe interaction. I know there's a good few books as well written on it. But certainly through the Holistic Academy, I'll probably implement it through there, because it's a really engaging workshop. So it's probably better in person, but there are certainly avenues there to make it more distance learning as well. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Well, that's a great idea anyway. So you are preparing a book about
Yes.
holistic grooming, isn't it? And
Yep.
I want to know everything about it. Well, everything you want to tell us, of course.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'm halfway through writing it now, so I should be ready to launch it in the new year. So the idea behind it is just to introduce what it actually is in more detail. So there's a series of books coming. So the first one, which I'm writing at the moment, is The Magic of Holistic Grooming, and that's just delving into the different aspects of what it is. So it's more of a what is book as opposed to how to book. But I'm hoping to then introduce shorter versions of how-to books for guardians and professionals, which will kind of, mesh well with the academy, so to speak. So yeah, so there's a series of books on the way.
Well, that's great. That's great. So, well, you are very full of surprise, if I can say that. You do plenty of stuff. You are really a very accomplished businesswoman, and in the same way with the good philosophy. So I love that. So, well, thank you very much, Stephanie, for answering all my questions and being so nice. And
no, thank you. I was so nervous about talking as well. I was so touched by it though. I was to my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm asked to talk. Like somebody actually thinks I'm a really nice business person. I was like, that's so nice. Because I don't see it as being business minded. I think, do you know what it is, Nathalie? If you're passionate about something, then you can make anything a success.
yes, it's true. It's true. I can see that with my own experience. If you love what you're doing and you have a bit of creativity, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can lift the world up, really.
And that's the thing as well. And you can't be perfect at everything either. I mean, I was just laughing at that in my group actually earlier on today. There was a lady that had put up a comment on, I've just had to turn away my first dog and I feel so deflated about it. And I was like, you know something, 2 days ago, I got an inquiry through. A lady has just bought a show cocker puppy and she wanted me to style the dog. And I was like, nah, I am not the best stylist for that. There's far more, more talented stylists out there. It's like you say, you specialize in one area that really you're passionate for. So you're kind of passionate about dermatology and I'm really passionate about behavior. So you kind of play to your own strengths. I'll never be the best stylist, but there's someone out there that will fill that gap.
Well, you're still young. I mean, as a groomer, you're still very young. So it takes time as well. And there's so many breeds, so many styles. And also being a good businesswoman, a good entrepreneur is also failing and then learning from that and then transform that in a future success. So there's no shame in failing or not knowing, or because as long as you take that, you turn that to your advantage later, you learn something from it, then it's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's all learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, anyway, Nathalie. It was honestly a pleasure.
Thank you very much.